Hello! The Yetis are back. If you have been waiting for almost 2 years, well, now we're back. That's a long story. I might tell it some other time. But if you're wondering what it is we do here on the Tech Yeti, let me explain. Oh, and upcoming video about putting ink in printers. What we're doing in the past, you kids might recognize this, right?
I think
we will revisit this. We will continue this. We didn't end the process, but we were learning how you can use, this is called an Arduino. You can use a little device like this that has, this is a microprocessor. This right here is a small version of the thing, I'm pointing at our computer over here, is a small version of the processor that makes these computers do all these incredible things. This is a small one, and then it's got these little places where you can attach wires, right, to control electronic circuits. So you asked before we started recording, what is a circuit? Okay, that's the sort of thing we're going to learn about here. A circuit is when you attach different electronic devices, chips like this, and this is a crystal. So it makes, I'll explain why crystals make things go up and down later. But power comes in here, USB comes here. So when you attach, these are capacitors. When you attach these things together using wire, and there's wire here in this board, that is a circuit. So we'll talk more about circuits some other time. We've talked about resistors in the past. We'll revisit those. This is not entirely, I think I took some parts off, what we worked on from before. Actually, no, this is everything. So we will continue doing this where we control the screen and put stuff on the screen. So put that over there for now. We will revisit that. This is something that we've worked on more recently. You guys might recall, this has not been on video before, but this was the start of something that I was also doing with the Arduino, where we can control this display. You remember that?
Yeah.
Got the wires hooked over to this, and when we run the program on this, we can say we want this to be a 0 or a 1 or a 2, and it will control what shows up here, right? And I could also wire it up to these switches to where if I use these switches, I can set these using binary. Do you guys remember binary? We talked about it the other day.
Yes, I remember.
Okay, Sister Yeti, what's binary?
Binary is in computers there's just 1 and 0s, and then you combine them to make, and then the computer combines them to make 2s, 3s, and so on.
Yep. Very good. So because on and off electricity, now it gets more complicated. I'll save that for another day. But electricity can be on or off, right? This battery is not plugged in. That's off. I plug in the battery, that's on, right? Computer only knows on and off. So we have these switches that are on and off, and using these we can set 4 numbers in binary, and those will end up putting a number on here. So if we set a 1 in the binary, a 1 would show up here. If we set a 5 in the binary, 5 would show up here, by using a program on this that would detect the binary and turn it into the right number on this thing, right? So we'll show that off sometime, and I'll show you guys how I got that to work. There's this other thing here that we got from your Uncle Yeti, and we haven't put it together, and we've had it all these 2 years. There's a thing in here. It's called Blue SCSI.
Blue SCSI.
So this plug right here was used a long time ago in old computers. It's called SCSI. SCSI stands for something. I'll have to look it up. And the connector was used for hard drives and tape drives and all sorts of things. Okay, and so this right here, this device was created more recently, and I don't want to break it. So you can, this is a circuit, right? Got all these little chips here. It will let you attach, I'm pretty sure that's an SD card slide. Yep, I think so. or I think that's ST. But you can attach newer things to old computers using SCSI. And this right here will adapt the newer style devices to the older style device. So we get to put that together sometime. Your uncle let us have it so we could solder it together, and I could show you how to do some soldering. So we'll set that aside. The soldering is set up downstairs in the garage, so we'll do that later. Hey, 8 bits are all you need. We'll talk some other time about what the Z80 is, the 6502, 6809, and the 8080. Those are all classic chips that are awesome. They all are 8-bit. We'll talk about what 8-bit means later, but this set of switches, there's 8 switches here. We could program 8 bits using that. Or this.
It's an 8-bit computer.
This right here.
8 things.
Yes, it goes from 0 to 7, which makes 8 numbers. In computers, in programming, we often talk starting at 0. We'll talk about that later, but it's just, if you start with the number 0, like if you're using binary to count, you count from 1 to 7, and the 0 would be 0. It's like, okay, I've got 7 numbers. Well, what if you want 8 numbers? Well, if you want 8 numbers, you can use the 0 as one of them, and now you have 8 numbers now. So using the 0 just lets you have one more number. That becomes important when you're using a computer as small as this, that you don't have access to many numbers. 8 bits gets up to 255. You can only store up to the number 255 using 8 bits. And that's not a very big number. And so if you want one more, if you want 256, you can use the 0. And it counts as 1. So we'll go over this sometime. But there's a little chip here. And the idea is you can press these little buttons to program this little computer. And I think this is awesome because it's just one little board where old computers like the Altair came out years and years, decades ago. That was in the 70s?
Maybe.
Like 50 years ago?
Maybe.
Something like that. Where it came out something like 50 years ago. And it
works.
Well, you can still, there still are some that work, but
What?
it only had something like this where you used the buttons to program things in. We're used to having a mouse and keyboards now. Well, they didn't have any of that back then. You just press these little buttons to put things in. So we're going to play with this sometime. That'll be a lot of fun. I brought up Altair here. Right? So the Altair had these little lights on the front, and there are these little switches, and you'd flick these switches, and it's like the buttons on this thing.
So it's kind of like how they had phones, and they had the person could connect them to another phone.
Yep. So actually, it's interesting you bring that up. One of the earliest uses of computers was to automate doing that. Like a lot of computer science that was developed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. There was a time where Bell Labs, so Bell is the company that controlled all the phone system in the United States. Bell Labs was the research facility that they used to to develop things for the phone system. And one of the things that they needed was ways to, one of the things they wanted to do was automate all of that selection, because every phone call you'd make, you'd have to have a person unplugging and plugging those wires to connect those two places. And so they came up with computers, with systems that if you dialed in the right number, right, you put in the numbers to the computer, and it would run a little program saying, okay, when these numbers are input, I will connect these things together, and that phone call will be made between this place and that place. And that was now done automatically using computers instead of people. And so Bell Labs was one of the first things to use computers in real life, or one of the biggest investors way back when, because they wanted to automate phone systems and take people out of it. And so it's interesting that you brought that up as an example. I brought this up a minute ago. SCSI, we brought it up earlier. SCSI is the Small Computer System Interface. So small computer because it was meant for computers you could fit on your desk, and not the sort of computer that Bell Labs would use that was a big, massive computer to hook up all those connections. So we'll play with this 8-bit computer sometime. And then this right here is in a similar vein to those things. This right here is meant to simulate an old Macintosh. And I've got one in the closet that I forgot to get out. But this right here is so you can put in a little SD card, that sort of thing, and you can run old Macintosh programs that you used to need this old computer for. You can run those old programs on this little thing and pretend you have this old computer even though you just have this little setup. So this right here is kind of similar to this thing. So we've got this Arduino, it's got this chip here. That one has a chip there that's also a microcontroller. This is a Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi?
Yep.
Yummy!
It's a fun name, isn't it? This is the Pico, I think is the name. Yep, Raspberry Pi Pico. Pico as in very, very small. And the Raspberry Pi,
A small
the normal Raspberry Pi, you guys probably haven't seen, but there's one in here.
Yummy!
And I can't actually open this right now without a screwdriver, but this is a case that has a normal Raspberry Pi in it, and it has, it's actually a small little computer with, these are to plug in a monitor, and you can Ethernet and USB, so it's like a little computer, but it's like a little computer that's only this big.
Wait.
And one of the things you can do with it, it's got these connectors. See these pins?
Yes.
They are very similar to what's here on the Arduino. So instead of having this little computer that can do a little bit of things, you can have a real computer that can run real operating systems and do all the stuff we can see on the display there, where you can plug in cameras and you can plug in keyboards and you can plug in hard drives and all sorts of things, and do the things you would do with an Arduino. So Raspberry Pi, very capable, a lot of fun with that.
Why is it, what Raspberry Pi is it? The technology one, or is it the food one?
Yes.
Then why is the technology one called Raspberry Pi?
You'll have to ask the people over in England about that one. I don't know why they called it Raspberry Pi, but they did. This
So it's in England, that is.
Now
I want to eat Raspberry Pi.
that does sound fun, doesn't it? Okay, here's another Raspberry Pi Pico. This one's one that I just have around, want to do something with. This is a similar thing to this one. It's just
Except
buried under the other one.
letters?
Yeah, this one has letters. So this one, we'll talk about hex sometime. Hex is, if you go from the number 0 up to the number 16, using the number 0 to 16, you can represent all the numbers in 4 bits. And that is actually exactly what we're doing when we display things here. I will try to explain that better some other time. I need to practice explaining it. But what you can do is you can go from 0 up to F, and using all 16 of those numbers, you can represent anything that you can put in those 4 bits. Because in 4 bits you can go 0, 1, 2, 4, and then 4 plus 2 is 6, 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7, and I did that wrong, but yeah, anyway. There's some more to learn there, right? And so we will cover that better later. Okay, Raspberry Pi, those are the small computers, and forgot to bring this out, of course, there's the kit, where these are a bunch of things we can plug into the Arduino, right? So circuits, these are things we can use to make circuits. We can plug in a motor, we can plug in little speakers, and we can plug in this bigger display, right? I've got a small one over here. We could do one before. So there's lots of things that you can make. There's a list of sensors. This is what we started with in the earlier videos, and so we'll keep going with those and make some more things. This is a little USB adapter, so set that aside. But yeah, there's a few things that we have here already to look forward to. I look forward to continuing our series with the Arduino on this thing. There's some more I wanted to do. I basically wanted to make a little game where you can make a guy run back and forth left and right. And there's 2 rows on the display, right? And so I feel like this might not be the display. But anyway, there's 2 rows on the display we're using. And so you could have the little guy like running along the bottom, and you could have like rocks coming towards him or something. And as time goes on, the rocks get closer, and then you can jump, and the guy will go up the top and then come down. So I want to show you how we can make a little thing like that using just
a little game.
a little game using our little Arduino and the code we write as we go here on the channel. So there's a lot to look forward to in the future. If you're interested in seeing us solder together the blue SCSI, subscribe and wait for that. If you're interested in seeing what we do with the 8-bit computer, subscribe to wait for that. And look forward in the near future as we work on this thing.
Like the little game, like it's a screen game, not like a real little mini.
No, it's a little game will show up on here. I'll show you when we work on it next, okay?
Okay.
And it'll show up on this thing. So yeah, and if anyone watching this online has a preference of the sort of thing they want to see next, let us know in the comments. But obviously, brother and sister Yeti will have first dibs on getting to pick what we do together here, because we're just recording this so you can follow along, but really this is an excuse that I get to show my kids electronics because it's fun. So bye for now. I hope to see you in the next one, and really enjoy spending time together.
Bye.